The rain hammered against the windows of our small cottage in the Cotswolds, each drop a relentless reminder of the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years, our life with my wife, Bronwyn, had been a gentle rhythm, a comforting melody played out in the rolling hills of England. But lately, the music had changed, discordant notes creeping into the harmony. I'm Aneurin, a 48-year-old architect, and until recently I believed I had built a life of unwavering stability and love with Bronwyn. We met at university, two naive souls drawn together by a shared love for literature and long walks. Our love story was simple, devoid of grand gestures, yet rich in quiet intimacy and mutual respect. Or so I thought. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Bronwyn, a history teacher, began spending late nights at school grading papers she claimed. Initially, I didn't think much of it. Teachers often work long hours, especially during exam season. But the late nights became more frequent and her explanations grew vague, almost rehearsed. "Just catching up on some marking," she'd say, her eyes darting away from mine. I'd make her a cup of tea, rub her shoulders, and tell her to take it easy. I was always the thoughtful husband, always putting her needs before my own. I prided myself on being supportive, understanding. Now I see how naive I was, how easily I was manipulated. Then came the phone calls. Bronwyn had always been a private person, but lately she'd clutch her phone like a lifeline, whispering into it in hushed tones when she thought I wasn't listening. "No, now isn't a good time," she'd say, her voice laced with anxiety, or "I'll call you later." When I asked who she was talking to, she'd brush it off with a casual, "Just a colleague," or "my sister." But her sister, Lori, lived in Canada. The lies were becoming increasingly transparent, yet I clung to the hope that I was wrong, that my suspicions were unfounded. I didn't want to believe that Bronwyn, the woman I loved, the woman I had shared my life with for 2 decades, was capable of betraying me. Denial, I realize now, is a powerful drug. The first real crack in our facade appeared during our annual trip to Cornwall. We'd been going to the same seaside village for 15 years, renting the same cozy cottage, walking the same windswept cliffs. It was our sanctuary, a place where we could reconnect and escape the pressures of daily life. But this year, something was different. Bronwyn was distant, preoccupied. She spent hours staring out at the sea, her expression unreadable. She barely touched her food, and our conversations were stilted, forced. One evening, as we sat by the fire, I tried to broach the subject. "Is everything all right, Bronwyn?" I asked, my voice gentle. "You seem different," she sighed, avoiding my gaze. "I'm just tired, Aneurin," she said. "School's been stressful, but it's more than that, isn't it?" I pressed, my heart pounding in my chest. "You've been acting strange for weeks. Please, just tell me what's going on." She hesitated for a moment, then burst into tears. "I can't," she sobbed. "I just can't." I held her in my arms, trying to comfort her, but her words had already planted a seed of doubt in my mind. What couldn't she tell me? What was she hiding? The rest of the trip was a blur of strained smiles and awkward silences. We returned home to the Cotswolds, the tension between us thicker than ever. The discovery came unexpectedly, brutally. One Sunday morning, Bronwyn went for a walk, leaving her phone on the kitchen counter. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist the temptation. I picked up her phone, my hands trembling. The screen lit up, revealing a text message from an unknown number. "Can't wait to see you later, my love," it read. The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing my breath. My world tilted on its axis. I scrolled through her messages, each one a dagger twisting in my heart. There were dozens of them, filled with intimate details and declarations of love. The sender was someone named Gareth. I didn't recognize the name. Who was Gareth? And what was Bronwyn doing with him? I continued to scroll, my stomach churning with each new revelation. There were photos, too. Photos of Bronwyn and Gareth, holding hands, kissing, laughing. Photos taken in places I recognized: the local pub, the park down the street, even our favorite cafe. They had been brazen, careless, conducting their affair right under my nose. The final message stopped me cold. It was a screenshot of a calendar entry marked for the following Saturday. "Hotel booking confirmed. Room with a view just like you wanted," it read. The hotel was in Bath, a romantic getaway, a place we had always talked about visiting together. She was planning a weekend away with him. A weekend that was supposed to be ours. Rage, hot and blinding, surged through me. I wanted to smash the phone, to scream, to tear the house apart. But beneath the anger there was a deeper, more profound pain. The pain of betrayal, of shattered trust, of a love that had been irrevocably tainted. I sank into a chair, my body numb, my mind reeling. How could she do this to me? How could she throw away 20 years of our life for a cheap, tawdry affair? Bronwyn returned from her walk an hour later, her cheeks flushed, her eyes bright. She walked into the kitchen, humming a tune. "Morning, darling," she said, kissing me on the cheek. Her touch felt like a brand searing my skin. I wanted to recoil, to scream at her, but I couldn't find my voice. "What's wrong?" she asked, noticing my pale face. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I held up her phone, the screen still displaying the incriminating message. Her face drained of color. What is this?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "Don't play innocent with me, Bronwyn," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "I know about Gareth. I know about everything." She burst into tears, collapsing into a chair. "Aneurin, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. It just happened," I repeated, incredulous. "You've been planning a romantic weekend away with him. How can you say it just happened?" "I don't know," she wailed. "I've been so unhappy lately. I felt like we were drifting apart, I scoffed. "Because you were too busy sneaking around with another man. Did you ever try talking to me about it? Did you ever try to fix things?" She shook her head, her tears flowing freely. "I was afraid," she said. "I didn't want to hurt you." "Hurt me," I roared. "You've already hurt me more than you can possibly imagine." The confrontation lasted for hours, a torrent of accusations, denials, and tearful apologies. Bronwyn admitted to the affair, claiming it had been going on for 6 months. She said she loved Gareth, that he made her feel alive again. She said she still loved me too, that she didn't want to lose me. But her words rang hollow, empty. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. I spent the next few days in a daze, barely eating or sleeping. I couldn't comprehend what had happened, how my life had been so completely upended. I walked around the house like a ghost, haunted by memories of our life together. Every object, every photograph, every piece of furniture was a painful reminder of what I had lost. I called my best friend Bledin and told him everything. He was shocked, supportive, offering words of comfort and advice. "You need to get out of there, Aneurin," he said. "You can't stay in that house, surrounded by those memories. Come stay with me for a while, clear your head." I took his advice, packing a bag and leaving the cottage that had been my home for so long. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I couldn't stay with Bronwyn. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too raw. I moved into Bledin's spare room, spending my days walking in the countryside, trying to make sense of my emotions. Bledin was a good friend, always there to listen, to offer a shoulder to cry on. He never judged, never offered unsolicited advice. He simply let me talk, let me process my grief in my own way. Meanwhile, Bronwyn bombarded me with calls and texts, begging me to come home, to forgive her. She promised to end the affair, to do whatever it took to win me back. But I couldn't bring myself to trust her again. The image of her with Gareth was seared into my mind, a constant reminder of her infidelity. As the weeks turned into months, I began to consider my options. Divorce seemed inevitable, but I was hesitant to take the plunge. 20 years is a long time to spend with someone. We had built a life together, a home, a history. The thought of unraveling all of that was daunting, terrifying. But I knew I couldn't stay in limbo forever. I needed to make a decision, to move forward with my life. I consulted a solicitor who advised me on the legal aspects of divorce. I learned about property division, spousal support, and all the other messy details that come with ending a marriage. The process was painful, emotionally draining. Bronwyn fought the divorce, refusing to accept that our marriage was over. She claimed she still loved me, that she had made a mistake, that we could work things out. But I was adamant. The trust was gone, and without trust there was nothing left. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I began to hear rumors about Gareth. He was a local businessman, married with 2 children. Apparently his wife had discovered the affair and kicked him out. He was now living in a small apartment, his reputation in tatters. Karma, it seemed, was finally catching up with them. One day I received a call from Gareth himself. He sounded desperate, remorseful. "Aneurin, I need to talk to you," he said. "Can we meet?" I hesitated for a moment, then agreed. We met at a neutral location, a cafe in a nearby town. Gareth looked haggard, defeated. His clothes were rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," he said, his voice trembling. "But I need to tell you something. Bronwyn isn't who you think she is." I raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "What do you mean she manipulated me, Aneurin?" he said. "She told me you were abusive, controlling. She said you didn't appreciate her, that you were always putting her down. She made me believe that she was trapped in a loveless marriage." I stared at him, stunned. "That's not true," I said. "I always treated her with respect and kindness. I loved her with all my heart." "Know that now," Gareth said. "I've seen her true colors. She's a liar, a manipulator. She used me to get what she wanted." "Did she want?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "Money," Gareth said. "She told me you were wealthy, that you had a lot of assets. She wanted me to help her get a divorce so she could take half of your money." I was speechless. Bronwyn had not only betrayed me, she had also tried to con me out of my life savings. The depth of her deception was staggering. "I'm sorry, Aneurin," Gareth said. "I was a fool. I should have known better, but she's a master manipulator. She knows how to get what she wants." I thanked Gareth for his honesty, then left the cafe, my mind racing. I couldn't believe that Bronwyn was capable of such cold-blooded calculation. I had always thought of her as a kind, gentle soul, but now I saw her for who she truly was, a selfish, manipulative liar. I confronted Bronwyn with Gareth's accusations, and she denied everything. She claimed Gareth was lying, that he was trying to turn me against her, but I didn't believe her. I had seen the truth in her eyes, the guilt in her face. I finalized the divorce, determined to protect my assets. Bronwyn fought me every step of the way, demanding a large settlement, but I refused to give in. I had been betrayed and manipulated, but I wouldn't be taken advantage of. The judge ruled in my favor, awarding Bronwyn a minimal settlement. She was furious, vowing to make my life a living hell. But I didn't care. I was free of her lies, free of her manipulation. In the end, Bronwyn lost everything. She lost her husband, her home, her reputation, and her chance at financial security. Gareth left her, unable to cope with her manipulative behavior. She was alone, ostracized by her friends and family. Karma, it seemed, had delivered its final blow. As for me, I slowly began to rebuild my life. I moved to a new town, started a new job, and surrounded myself with supportive friends. The pain of betrayal lingered, but it gradually faded with time. I learned to trust again, to love again. And I emerged from the ashes of my broken marriage a stronger, wiser man. The rain outside has stopped, and a sliver of sunlight peeks through the clouds. The storm has passed, leaving behind a sense of peace and clarity. I am still an architect, but now I design houses with a new perspective, one that values honesty and integrity above all else. I learned a valuable lesson, albeit a painful one, that sometimes the people we love the most are capable of the greatest betrayals. But I also learned that we are stronger than we think, that we can survive even the most devastating heartbreaks, and that, in the end, karma always has a way of finding its mark.